All right. Good evening. I'm back. Welcome in. This is Main Event Fantasy, where we get into some best ball drafting right here on Underdog Fantasy. So, if you're new to the channel or new to the stream, my name is Nick, aka Perfect 216, and we draft fantasy football teams. That's what we do. We will talk about um, advice for redraft leagues, dynasty leagues. You got questions? I'm happy to help. Been doing this a long time. Won a lot of money, and I'm hoping that we can keep things rolling. So what we're doing here is we do best ball drafts on Underdog. So tonight we're going to get into I think the Chow Chow if it fills. So if you look here, take a quick look at the Chow Chow. All these drafts that we do are called best ball drafts. So for those of you that aren't sure, I got to repeat it on every stream just to make sure that people understand what it is we're doing here. A best ball draft means there's no time commitment during the regular season. You don't have to do any trades. There's no waiver wire pickups. You don't have to set a lineup. You just draft your team, and the best players play every week. And so you fall into pods. So if you look at this tournament, 2 out of 12 in your pod, that is weeks 1 through 14. Whoever wins those two will move on to week 15. 2 out of 8 will advance. Week 16, 2 out of 8 will advance, and then a 58-seat final in week 17. And it looks like the Chow Chow is a smaller entrant pool, right? Which is great, which means less people to contend with. So $50,000 to first place. We're hoping to knock that out. So let's try and get into the Chow Chow. If we don't get it filled quickly, then we'll jump into a Pomeranian as well. And we'll see how that treats us. But it looks like we might fill pretty good. It is waiting on 4 people. But let me click over here real quick. And I think the Chow Chow is not a single entry. Yeah, you can do 15 entries into this if you, if someone wanted to. There's not a lot of time left to do that, but you could. This is my first entry into the Chow Chow. And then I've got a few into the Pomeranian already. These are $3 entries. You can enter up to 50 times. Looks like I got 7 in because you can get into 50 max. I've already done the mini golden. This is a single entry, winner take all, 20,000 to first. So that's fun. The big one that we always do every year that we're going to max out is Best Ball Mania. This is the tournament where we're trying to win $2 million or $1 million for that matter. Any of this is, there's some life-changing money here. So we're trying to win that. So we get into some of these different tournaments. We're definitely maxing some more than others, and there will be more. So if you haven't done this before and you're going, hey, this one's almost full, what happens when it fills? They come out with some more. This is peak drafting season. So between the end of July and August, there's a lot of drafting happening. So, let me see where we're at then, the Chow Chow. Still waiting on 4. All right. So what we'll do is I'm going to start us with a Pomeranian because that'll fill quickly. And then when it fills for the Chow Chow, we will move on over to that. And I'll let you guys see that once it fills. All right. So we're in a Pomeranian at the 1-4. This should be fun. So I kind of titled this stream talking a little bit about fantasy football injuries. If you guys haven't noticed, there's a lot of things happening, and this is early training camp. And this feels like a lot of major injuries that have occurred already pretty early in training camp. And so that shakes up things. And for some of you, if you're like me, you've drafted a lot of teams, that can really hurt you or it can help you depending on how you've been drafting. And I'll just use Joe Mixon as an example. So if you haven't heard, Joe Mixon hurt himself, and I think it's his ankle, and he's going to miss significant time is what they're calling it during the season. So we don't know exactly what significant time means, but what it means to me is if you've been drafting him at 50, 56, 59, that's a hard place to be drafting him. And if you had a bunch of them, you feel really bad that you got him. Lucky me, I didn't get a lot of him. Why? Because I've been getting a lot of Nick Chubb because they picked him up. And to me, that was a sign that they were either going to cut into his workload. And I think Nick Chubb is a stud and can still bring it. And now he's going to probably be their number one. So I'm rolling in this one where Nick Chubb's really going to pay off for me, I hope, with all that I've drafted of him already. Jamar Chase goes, Bijan Robinson goes, Lamb goes. Interesting. I'm going to take Justin Jefferson. I'll just always take the faller here. They were talking about a little bit of a hamstring tweak for Jefferson. Probably nothing. We have to assume. Don't want to hit the panic button yet, so I'm not going to freak out. We'll see how things kind of come back around for us tonight. Hope everybody had a really nice weekend. I was out kayaking, so I'm feeling pretty good about my weekend. And actually, the Chow Chow just filled, so we're going to pivot over to the Chow Chow. And we're going to get in this room, and I will keep you updated on the Pomeranian. I'm going to do that on my phone as we go. So I'll let you know how that Pomeranian draft turned out, but we definitely want to take a look at this one. See if we recognize anybody in the room. We don't. I love getting 1-6. This feels great. I love anybody that falls here. And if it just goes in order, I'm happy with that too. So I'm excited about getting the 1-6 here. Yeah, so far, most of the injuries, knock on wood, which, by the way, just as a human being, you never want to hear about another guy getting hurt. And it's only us sickos who draft a lot of fantasy football teams that get excited when someone goes down, which is probably the wrong thing to do. But I guess I'm just not a nice person at that moment. I'm going to try better. So I do wish him the best. But if it's going to happen, I want it to happen and help me at the same time, right? I guess that's a selfish way to look at it. Jamar at 1, Bijan 2, CeeDee Lamb 3. I'm going to guess Saquon 4, Justin Jefferson 5. That's kind of where I'm thinking this is going to go. But we'll see how it plays out. Nope, Gibbs gets pulled up. I've seen Gibbs getting pulled up a ton lately. I've seen him go at the 101, which it seems a little early to me. So we're going to get Justin Jefferson or Saquon Barkley, whoever falls to us here. And at 1-6, I'm perfectly happy either way. All right, Justin Jefferson it is. Justin Jefferson at the 6 feels awesome. I've been a huge fan of him for a long time. And I think he's got a lot of talent. Speaking of which, we did take Justin Jefferson in that Pomeranian draft that we got in. So if you're playing along on that draft, I just grabbed Tyreek Hill. So now I have Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill in that draft. We'll see how this kind of rolls around to us. If anybody joins us tonight, we're looking forward to you. We draft on Underdog Fantasy. If you look in the description below, you can see a link to jump on here and join and draft with us. If you just want to come and hang out, chat it up with us, come on in. Water's fine. Happy to hang out with you. That Pomeranian draft's moving. I'm already coming up for the third pick on that one. And we're looking pretty good with where that one's shaking out. Let's see. 3 running backs in a row here. Henry, Achane, Genty. In that Pomeranian draft, Bucky Irving, who normally goes at 22, I'm getting him at 28 in that draft. So that'll be all good. All right, it's coming up on us. I know who I want here, and he is not there, but that's okay. I wanted A.J. Brown, but we'll just take the best on the board and not get cute. I'm not as big. If you checked out my video, it talks about the what I think are the best ranked ways to draft your team this year. Elite tight end is not one of my favorite ways. So this is not necessarily what I would say my ideal start is. However, it's more important in most cases to take advantage of the ADP. Now, in these smaller tournaments, it's a little less needed. When you get more entries into a tournament, the more uniqueness and the more the ADP could impact you. In the smaller field tournaments, you can go ahead and be a little bit different. Hey, how are you, Raphael? Thanks for jumping in. I appreciate you joining us. All right, 3 picks away. Let's see what Peary here is going to do. Chase Brown goes. Trey McBride. So I'm liking either of these two if they fall. Happy with either one. And we will get one of them because Russ here took Josh Allen at 28. And I guess with these larger dollar tournaments, when you have a little bit of a smaller pool, you can go ahead and be a little bit more, aggressive on some of these quarterbacks, these elite quarterbacks. But I tend to like to let quarterbacks come to me, as I've kind of explained in the past. Devontae Adams goes. So we're pull this up for you. Hampton goes 3rd round. I would have loved Hampton to come back around, and I would have treated him like my anchor RB. I need more of him. I like him where he's going right now. Sorry, in that other draft, just pulling it up. I just grabbed DJ Moore in that draft. And it's already coming out to me. That Pomeranian we were in, I got Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, DJ Moore, and Bucky Irving in that draft. I kind of like getting Garrett Wilson here because I think it opens us up that if it falls right to us later, we grab a share of his quarterback, Justin Fields, who's got some legs and could be a really big value later on in the draft. But we'll see how this one falls to us. I know who I'm not taking in this draft because I'm still wondering what's going to happen with Rashee Rice. How many games is he going to be suspended? When in the season will they be suspending him? Hurts goes. I'm a big Tet McMillan guy. I'm happy to select him here. Overjoyed. Feels great. Love the click. Oops. Just sorry, guys. I'm just checking out that other draft. In our other draft here, I just grabbed Kenneth Walker. This feels like a nice little start here. We may have to play a little bit of catch up in running back depending on what falls to us. But I would say this year more than any might be a good year to be 0 RB because of the depth of running back potential options. And the one thing that I've always said is you can't get behind at wide receiver, no matter what play style you have. You're just the recovery at wide receiver just isn't realistic. There's just too much of a talent drop off, and you need to start 3 of them, and you can start up to 4. So if you're not aware of that, I know I didn't explain that earlier. You have to start 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and a quarterback, and then you get 1 flex. The flex can only be a running back, wide receiver, or a tight end because this is not a super flex tournament. Now, they do have super flex tournaments, but that's not what this is. So when we know we've got to start 3, if not 4 wide receivers, and you only got to start 2 running backs, you definitely want to take advantage of what comes to you. I'm not a big Chuba guy, and I do feel like there's some better values of running backs in the draft. So I'm going to keep the train rolling with wide receivers, actually. I'm going to take Zay Flowers here. I feel good about him. So far here in this $50 buy-in, we have Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Ted McMillan, Zay Flowers at wide receiver, Brock Bowers at tight end, and we're still on the empty on the quarterbacks and running backs. So when you don't have a running back in the first 5 picks, this is the definition of going 0 RB. And I'm okay with it. I really am. I really, really like with the talent that's fallen to us. I'm enjoying this draft, and I think we'll be able to make up some ground in the running back room. It'll be okay. We'll find our guys. Travis Hunter goes at 57. Travis Hunter is interesting. Earlier in, right after the NFL draft happened, he was going a lot earlier, and I was getting some of him there. He's one of those ones where it's a little bit of risk because you don't know how much of the snaps he's going to play, how impactful he'll be. I think the talent is still going to win out. I think he'll have a good role in that offense, and I do think that offense will be improved. So I don't think anybody should feel bad about picking Travis Hunter in the 5th round. I think the risk reward is there. And when you're trying to do something and you're trying to win, millions of dollars playing fantasy football, you don't do it by playing it safe. Take it from me. It's worked out good for me so far. Olave goes. Rome Odunze goes. The draft board's kind of coming around to us here. And we'll see what kind of digging out we can do here at running back. Mixon goes. I was just talking about Mixon earlier. Not a guy I'm touching right now. So for me, ideally, I'm going to get DeAndre Swift. Feel great about him. I think he's going to be in an improved offense this year. He's a pass catching back, reunited with Ben Johnson. So feels good. Just 1 second. I think my cat's chewing on something. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, the cat was definitely chewing on something. I don't know what she's got, but she doesn't want to give it up. So, all right. So we're 6 picks away. I'm feeling good about how we're starting out here. So we've got Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Ted McMillan, Zay Flowers, a wide receiver, Brock Bowers, tight end, DeAndre Swift at running back. We are doing a 0 RB strategy here is kind of what we've fallen ourselves into, and I'm okay with it. Ibuka goes right after Diggs and Addison. Definitely some guys I like here in this range. Let's say Laporta, stays there. I don't know if I do a double tight end. I don't call it double premium, but kind of wanted Pearsall. Y'all know I'm in on Pearsall this year. I'm going to go ahead and take the rookie Matthew Golden. So he'll be our 5th wide receiver. Opens up more stacks later for us down the road for quarterback. And we are going to start to come around where there are quarterbacks that are going to be in play for us. And we've got a good variety because right now only Baltimore has been taken. So I really like how this team's turning out. If we can correlate some of that, if some running backs fall our way, could be a really, really nice team. All right, let's turn this board around so you guys can kind of see what the screen looks like. It really is amazing for those of you that have been drafting for a while, how things have changed since May to now, between May and June. And then, once training camps start, lots of things shake up. And you just hope by the end of the season, most of your drafts, most of your highest ranked players or highest drafted players are, you're getting good closing line value on those guys, hopefully. And what I mean by closing line value is, hey, Clifford. Clifford's in an 8-man league, haven't drafted yet. I have the first overall pick. Would you trade picks 16 and 17 for picks 10 and 26? I don't think I would. I would probably just hold tight if it were me. I think you're in a good place. 8-man leagues, you have a little bit more flexibility. My advice in 8-man leagues is, you kind of want to take advantage of those positions, so you have less of, right? So, premium tight end means a lot in an 8-man league, because if you have the number one tight end, there's only a few of them, or quarterbacks for that matter. They can really have a bigger impact on your league because everybody can find the running backs and waiver wires, etc. So, but I don't know that it's a bad trade, but I would just stick with where you're at if it were me. Thanks for the question. All right, let's come back around. Pittman goes. I'd like to grab another running back here, and this feels good. Brian Robinson on an improved offense, contract year. He's going to want to ball out, and I think he will. I think he will. Sorry, just drafted in the other Pomeranian league. All right. Draft's coming around. So we're going to start to have some quarterback stacking options coming up to us. If you don't know why that's important, it's something I explain all the time. You really want to maximize your value. And, if you have their pass catcher who's going off, you want their quarterback and vice versa. You don't want to be the guy that has one or the other, because someone else out there who you'll be competing against in another, in these tournaments somewhere. If you have Garrett Wilson and he goes nuclear, someone's going to have Justin Fields to go with him. And if you don't, you kind of could be at a disadvantage there. It's not guaranteed, but you just kind of lose out on some of that value. Cup goes. So assuming Fields falls to us here, we'll pair him up with Garrett Wilson as our first quarterback off the board. He's got legs, so he can win you a week if he still got the wheels. They did say he's got a little bit of a toe injury. And so I guess that's something we have to be a little bit concerned about. But this is kind of where I talked about in the beginning of the stream, where injuries are important to take note of in the training camp. But you got to decide which ones you want to take the risk on and which ones you don't. Scroll on down here. Drake May goes. In this one, with this being a $50 entry tournament, you have smaller field tournament. It's more likely that I'm going to potentially get into allow myself to get to a 3 quarterback build. But it just kind of depends on how it falls for us. We did get a little bit of a run on quarterbacks there. All right, Charbonnet goes. All right, let's see what comes around our way. Evan Ingram goes off the board. You know, I think we're kind of like, I feel really good. I feel like we're pretty balanced here. There really isn't, you know, until we get to just J.J. McCarthy, we don't really need another quarterback. I kind of wanted to go Scatabo here. But I mean, we could, depending on what B Money here does. I know what I would do if I was him. Pretty obvious on the board, but all right, that was different. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take let's go ahead and take McCarthy here, get our second quarterback. I was really tempted to take Shaheed here. I'm a big Shaheed guy. If you see my wide receivers video, I do talk a little bit about how he's a guy where he goes in drafts that has a lot of value. And so I think that he should definitely be a guy on people's radar. All right, 7 picks to go, draft coming around. We know we still want to get more running backs. We may, you know, if our wide receiver room stays strong, we do have a premium tight end, so we're probably only going to take one other tight end, so we'll probably be stopping at 2. And so that's going to open us up to allow us to take probably 6 running backs in this draft, and we'll feel pretty good doing it. Christian Kirk goes at 120, CJ Stroud. It's always interesting to me to see how people play their quarterbacks. Are they pairing anybody up with their pass catchers, or are they not sure what they're doing? Or maybe they're getting sniped. You know, anything can happen. All right, Judkins finally goes at 122. He continues to fall after the news, and people still don't know what his punishment's going to be yet. All right, a couple of options here we can do. I'm okay with either of these. We can do a third quarterback or grab another running back. We'll grab Ramondre here. With Ramondre, we know he's going to be in a timeshare now with the rookie, but we don't know what it's going to look like yet, and anything can happen. You know, they're committed to him. They still have a lot of money with him, so unless they trade him away, which anything's possible, I think he's still a value there, and he may be a good guy to have on a team like this 0 RB, where you know he's got some talent and can maybe still produce points for you. Lawrence goes at 11.9, so 129 Lawrence goes. Jared Goff goes. A lot of people are big on Tootin. You know, there's a couple of streamers that I know that, you know, very popular streamers, and, you know, one of them's probably a Tootin guy. I think he's like 28% on Tootin already, and I'm definitely underweight on him. And if you don't understand what I mean by underweight, I've talked about this before. It's about exposures. If you're going to be a drafter of multiple teams like this in best ball, where you can draft multiple teams, you want to balance out your exposures, usually is the best way to go about it, but you might have some takes on guys that you really like, and that's okay. But you still want to be somewhat balanced in most cases. But Tootin's a guy, I'm not really sure what's going on in that backfield. I actually have more of ETN with where he goes than I've ended up with Tootin. Don't know if that'll come back to bite me or not, but I feel like I've done pretty well the last few years. So if I miss out on one take, hopefully it's not the wrong one. All right, draft coming back around. Let's see what Lancers does. Mims goes. You know, there's like a stretch of running backs here, and we know we're in a catch up on running back kind of a draft. I'm actually going to go ahead and take Trey Benson. You know, they're talking about him putting on weight and muscle and maybe be more impactful. You know, he's another year experienced in this team, in this offense that I think will be a better offense. And then James Conner, well, he's been kind of a stud, you know, as they get older, as people get older, this is where the fall-offs come. And actually, I'll pull up a couple of stats for you and talk a little bit about James Conner and kind of in comparison, and we'll look at over his career. So just looking at what he's done over the years, I mean, he's had 2 times when he finished as a top 5 running back. Last year, he was actually the number 11 in PPR scoring. But other than that, he was 20, 20, 20, 19, 18. So, and his snap share is falling, actually. He was, last year, his snap percentage was 61%. So he was only on the field for 61% of snaps, which if Trey Benson's efficient, or that becomes more of a 50-50, or he gets injured, then Trey Benson in round 12 is an absolute smash. And so I have no problem getting here in a team like this where we're going 0 RB. All right, it's coming back around. I know what I want to do. And it happens. So if you saw my wide receiver, my guys video, Cedric Tillman is 100% one of my guys this year. With where he goes, he's a number 2. Yes, I get it. The Browns are not going to be great, but that's also a sign that they're going to have to pass a lot. And if you watched them at all last year before he got hurt, he was breaking out pretty aggressively in that like 4-game stretch. And they didn't draft anybody really of any competition. They haven't gone anywhere in free agency. He's going to get passes. And if they can figure out that quarterback carousel, he could be a player. And I'm not saying, don't shoot me when I say this, he is not going to be, you know, the next breakout Puka Nacua this year, but he can sure pay off his draft position where he's going. And that's really what you're trying to do, is get guys that are going to pay off when you're down here in rounds 13 through 18. Brenton Strange goes. So far we've got a 2-4-6-1 build going. We've got Justin Fields, J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson Jr., Ramondre Stevenson, Trey Benson at running back. Wide receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Ted McMillan, Zay Flowers, Matthew Golden, Cedric Tillman at wide receiver, and Brock Bowers at tight end. We do have Justin Jefferson paired up with McCarthy and Garrett Wilson paired up with Justin Fields. Sorry, that was my notification in the other draft. We were in the Pomeranian before this one filled. I got put on auto. So, all right. There's a lot of ways we can go here with guys that I like. We can get a third quarterback here if we feel good about it, which is more likely what I'm going to do, because there are some more running backs that I like coming up after this. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and take Bryce Young, assuming he falls to us here, and then we'll be done at quarterback. Nope, he's gone. I scratched whatever I just said. That didn't happen. Wow, I actually was going to click on Jalen Wright as well. So we'll take Hunter Henry. And we'll just stop in tight end. You know, when you get an elite tight end and you're going to put that kind of draft capital into a tight end, it's okay to stop with only 2 tight ends. And that way we can put extra picks into wide receiver or running back. You know, it's a little bit about draft capital and kind of what the value is kind of what matters. Cam Ward goes. And for those of you that are just joining, this is a $50 buy-in tournament. This is the Chow Chow. We will probably get into one more after this. It's starting to fill fast. All right, draft is coming around. Let's see what is it going to be available to us. I don't have much Jerome Ford, but now that you see what's going on with the Browns running back room, it kind of makes you think you might want to take a chance on a guy. Kind of see another option here as well. So I kind of talked about this earlier, where when you get later in drafts, you can go ahead and scroll down more. And you don't have to be afraid to do that. But early on, that's when you don't really want to do that. You want to just take the values that come to you. We'll go ahead and get Jerome Ford. When you're in a 0 RB room, a 0 RB team, when you don't have a anchor, we'll call it running back, it's okay to take shots on guys like that. All right, so scrolling on down, we've got 3 picks left to complete our team. We'll see if we're going to win us some money. If you're just joining again, I appreciate it. Throw a like down in the or a comment in the bottom. What we're doing is we're drafting an Underdog Fantasy. This is where you can draft best ball teams. I have drafted over 350 teams already this year, and I will draft probably over 700 by the time the league starts. It's how I've been able to win thousands of dollars over the last few years. And there's no time commitment during the regular season because you draft your team and then it automatically plays for you. And there's no management, no trades, no waiver wires, no nothing. So it's if you love drafting teams, this is definitely my favorite way to do it. Will Shipley goes. So we know we're done at tight end. Let's see here. I mean, there's definitely running backs that I'm fine with down here. That's not my concern. Oh, let's see. And then once we make this pick, I'll talk a little bit about week 17 again and kind of why that matters and why that relates to what we're doing here with this team. B money goes Lloyd. So we'll take Jalen Noel as to be our 7th wide receiver. So when you hear me talk about week 17 is all that matters, the reason I say that in the past has been you're trying to win money, and most of the money won is in week 17 because that is the best ball finals. And so when we draft a player like Justin Fields and we correlate him with Garrett Wilson, and if that game goes off in week 17 and it is the highest scoring game of the week, you'd love to have what's called a bring back or other people from that game. So we have New England who plays them in week 17. So we have Stevenson from that game and Hunter Henry. So if those guys go off for New England, and then meanwhile, Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields go off, and that happens to be the highest scoring game in week 17, and we made it to the finals, then we have a much higher chance of making a whole lot of money. So correlating your teams matter with your pass catchers, but also so does week 17 stacking or bringbacks. All right. I think we just have a couple left here. I'm definitely going to get a 6 running back, and then after that, it's kind of up in the air on what I want to do here. I think I might do something crazy, so don't get too crazy on me. See what James Mooney does. I think we're going to go ahead and do it. We're going to end up with a 3rd quarterback. So I've just talked about stacking and the value that stacking has, but let me explain why he makes sense here. This is kind of a luxury pick when you're down here and you feel good about your team. We don't need a 3rd quarterback, but we're okay with it. And Anthony Richardson is the kind of guy who can win you a week with his legs alone, doesn't need his pass catchers to come with him to really score you points at the position. And so when you're getting him around 17, that's pretty crazy value with someone with the potential he has. The likelihood of him being like the best quarterback in the league is probably slim, but again, we're trying to win money, so we got to take some risks, right? And then we'll just queue in here. another. Just going to queue up some guys that I like to be our 6th running back. And then we'll kind of go over this team, and then we'll jump into another draft after this. I appreciate you guys being on. If you guys have any questions, throw it in the chat. Happy to talk about it. If you want to draft with us, I'll give you a little bit of a countdown if you're here. And then if you get into a draft with us, that'd be awesome. And then just let us know what position you end up getting in, and we can talk through it. I'll just try and avoid letting you snipe my guys. We can get into a $50 Chow Chow, a $3 Pomeranian, or a $25 Best Ball Mania draft. If you guys want to draft with me and you're here, just let me know what you prefer. Just type it in the chat, and then I'll try and pick that one if you'd rather see me do that. I'm fine either way. Sanders goes. I'm just going to go ahead and take Kareem Hunt. I still continue to feel good about him. So let's just kind of look over our team here before we move on. So team is at quarterback, Justin Fields, J.J. McCarthy, Anthony Richardson. We've got a lot of legs opportunity here, meaning they're all mobile to a point. And so that's kind of nice, high upside with where we got them. Running back, DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson Jr., Ramondre Stevenson, Trey Benson, Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt. Wide receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Tet McMillan, Zay Flowers, Matthew Golden, Cedric Tillman, and Jalen Noel. I might be saying that wrong. It might be Noel. And then tight end, we have Brock Bowers and Hunter Henry. We did correlate Garrett Wilson with Justin Fields. We do have McCarthy stacked up with Justin Jefferson. And then we talked already about how we have New England 2 players in the bring back for week 17 with Hunter Henry and Ramondre for that game. And so we have some bringbacks there. Minnesota plays Detroit in week 17, and we do not have any Detroit players, so we don't have to bring back for that one, but that's okay. So, all right, let's move over and get into one more draft. If anybody has a preference, let me know. Just type it in there if you'd like me to kind of wait. We can do a Pomeranian $3 entry. We can do a Chow Chow $50 entry, or we can do a Best Ball Mania $25 entry. I guess what we'll do is, why don't we go ahead and do one more? See if anybody's answered. No, we'll do one more of these Chow Chows. And then if it doesn't fill, we got 4 people waiting on. Nope, now 3. If it doesn't fill, then what we'll do is we'll get into a Pomeranian instead. But this should fill. It's only got 3 people left until it fills. Thanks again for everybody who's watching and those of you who are joining. Again, I don't do this for money. I do it because I enjoy this. I love drafting teams. I've drafted 350 already. We'll draft over 700 by the time the season starts. And, if you love drafting teams, this is my favorite way to do it. And so we'd love for you to come draft with us. Down in the description, I have a link to Underdog Fantasy. You can jump in there, grab an account, and you can end up drafting with us. And we can talk a little bit about it. I can answer any questions you guys have in the chat. Just waiting on 2 more for this lobby to join. Hope everybody's had a good weekend. I was sharing earlier, I went kayaking this weekend with some family and some friends, and man, it was a good time. Just been on the river, kind of forgetting about life for a little while. All right, still 2 more left. Bear with us. I wanted to go back and look at, we were talking about James Conner earlier, and, when I'm going to look back now at Trey Benson and what he did last year, his snap percentage was pretty low, for his rookie year. He only averaged 17% snap share. So when you think about that, that could only increase. And he only played in 13 games. So if his role increases at all with where he's going, I think he's going to be a great value. All right. Looks like it did fill. If you're in here and we're able to get into the draft, just type in the chat what position you're in. Just throw it up there. We got the 1-4. Same guy as the last draft. This leak guy was on our last draft as well. Any of these guys are fine for me with where they go. We'll see what kind of falls to us. Probably would not be. He would not be my first choice. Probably there, if I'm being honest. And since we did just take Jefferson, ideally would not take him. I'll take somebody else just to mix it up. Beaver fever. Hey, there's days I got the beaver fever, brother. Speaking of brother, I still can't believe Hulk Hogan passed away. It's crazy. I was a huge fan as a kid, and so Jefferson finally goes. So we can do Saquon or Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm fine either way. If anybody has a preference, tell me what you want me to draft. Otherwise, I'm just going to go. I think I'm just going to stick with Madden curse here. Which is kind of crazy that people have this thing about the Madden curse. And I get it. I can't say I don't understand it, but when you're on a great team like that and you are a great player, you're still going to do great things. So Saquon's the kind of guy that you don't really want to pass up that talent. So the last draft we started with Justin Jefferson, and then this draft we started with Saquon. So last draft we ended up with a 0 RB build because we didn't have any running backs before the 6th round. And now we're looking at least, if nothing else, anchor. Could be double anchor. Y'all know, if you saw my other video around best strategies for drafting this year, I kind of compared for you what we did in 2023, what the market did, what was effective, how'd that relate in 2024, and then kind of how I formulated my draft strategies for 2025. Achane goes at 14, Thomas 13. Let's see. Drake London goes 15. I like Drake London. I want some more of him this year, especially where he's going in the 2nd round. Bowers went a little early. So we got Bowers at 19 in the last draft. He goes at 16 here. Coming back around, Derrick Henry goes at 17. Pairs him up with Christian McCaffrey. A little double RB start from a couple of guys here, Ebola and Jamie. A.J. Brown goes. McConkey goes. So I think ideally here I get Tyreek Hill. Depends on what he wants to do here. And he goes Chase Brown. So, yeah, we'll take Tyreek Hill here as our first wide receiver. And we'll be happy about it. With Tyreek Hill, he's a guy who last year had a little bit of a hand injury, had some off-the-field stuff with the police with that car, situation. Good news in camp so far that he has been looking like his old self, even at 31 years old, and looking like he's still got the juice. And if that offense is any better and he's healthier and his hand doesn't bother him, I mean, he could be a guy that obviously is – people have been begging. They've been taking him in the first round the last few years. So he's got enough talent to win you a week and hopefully win us a championship here. McBride goes 25. The dream for me is Marvin Harrison. If y'all know, I have a My Guys video for running back and one for wide receiver. And Marvin Harrison is my number one My Guy for the wide receiver position this year. I'm getting him every time I can in the third round. So this really excites me to have him here. He is a premium talent coming out of college. When you look at, when you look in the history of, college football wide receivers when they come out, you kind of get ranked based on what their profile looks like. And he profiles as someone who's going to be an absolute dominant receiver. And if you compare him to Malik Neighbors, who is now going in the first round, he could easily, be that type of player, if not more this year. I don't know, improved offense, another year with Kyler Murray. And he did put on some muscle. If you look on the internet, they're talking a lot about showing pictures of how ripped and jacked he is. And I'm excited about it. So we start Saquon Barkley, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison, and I love this start. This is the kind of start that just gets me excited. This is the kind of start that I feel like we're going to win some money with. And that makes me happy. Lamar Jackson goes. Jaden Daniels at 35. So in Best Ball Mania and a lot of these other drafts, a lot of these quarterbacks were going in the fourth round, not the third. So it feels a little early for me, but I understand why people do it. I really do. George Kittle at 39. Worthy goes. Let's see what we're looking like that might come around to us here that we like. We could try and do something really cute here. If it works out our way, we could take Devonta Smith here. Jalen Hurts here, and hope Devonta Smith makes his way around to us at 52. That would be pretty sick. Unlikely. Well, now it doesn't matter because Hurts goes. And McMillan goes. Could be DK's year. Aaron Rodgers likes to find one guy, throw to him a lot. Grabbing him here doesn't feel terrible as our third wide receiver. I'm starting to think here I want to get Rashee Rice at 52. I don't know how far he's going to drop. I don't know when his suspension is going to happen. But it's making me feel like I should consider it. And he goes at 50. I think if Hunt doesn't go Smith, he's the easy pick for me here. If not, I'll probably go Zay Flowers. Yeah, so feel bad because this guy's not going to love me for doing this, but he just is my favorite player on the board, but he's not going to be happy because I'm sure he wanted him. And then Nez over here who took Hurts, probably wanted the double stack. But so far through 5 rounds, we've got Saquon Barkley at running back, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison, DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith at wide receiver. And we feel pretty good about where we're sitting here. No crazy reaches. The value's been good that's fallen to us. Neds goes Travis Hunter. Kind of a run on here. I've kind of talked about this in other streams we've done. I really feel like there's a tier drop off here at wide receiver after you get through this Ridley range. Once you get past Calvin Ridley, I think there's a drop off to a whole nother tier. And I genuinely, when I'm in, through 5 rounds, I'm at least getting out of here with 3, if not 4 wide receivers through 5 rounds. That's my preferred way to draft. And usually with an anchor running back would be my goal. So how we're drafting right now is exactly how I like to draft. Anchor running back, 4 wide receivers through 5 rounds. Feels good. Feels pretty good. Pearsall goes, I like Ricky. Ricky. I think Sticky Ricky's going to be a massive smash this year. I really do. And I want to be right because I got a lot of them. Y'all know we talked about this earlier with the injuries going on, with Mixon. He's going to miss some serious time. This just came out yesterday with his foot and his ankle. And so we will be letting him go. We'll let somebody else who doesn't pay attention to the news take him because he's going to fall. And sometimes you're winners and losers when you're drafting as many teams as I do before the a lot of the other drafters come in. This is kind of like primetime drafting for most people, where I've been drafting since end of April. And we'll go Addison here as our 5th wide receiver. But yeah, I've been drafting since April, and I've been on the Nick Chubb train when he was way down there in round 17 and 18. And now all of a sudden he looks like he's going to be the starter in Houston. Huge value there for all those teams that I picked him on. So it feels really good. And I was not drafting a lot of Joe Mixon, at least not once Nick Chubb joined the team. If he falls, maybe it's somebody I got to consider at 76 though, right? I just don't know how far of a fall. I guess that's the question. How far of a fall is too far for Joe Mixon to slide? Like, when do you have to take him, right? Like, do we have to take him at 76? Is that just too ridiculous to pass up on him? I don't know. I don't know. Like, I kind of want I kind of want Pacheco here. Which way should I go? Do I take Mixon, or is this going to hurt my team here? Oh, such a hard decision. And Pacheco could be dead too. I'm just going to take Mixon at 76. I mean, it's just a crazy fall. I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. May regret it. Maybe I won't, but you play this to win. You don't play it to lose. So I don't want to be 8th, 9th, 12th in a team, in a league of, however many. I want to be first. So you got to take chances. Not stupid chances, just calculated chances, Pacheco does go at 81. Tony Pollard goes. A little bit of a run on running backs here. I'm glad I got one. I knew I was going to come out of there with one. I just wasn't sure who the right person was going to be. Cooper Kupp goes. Higgins goes. Whoops. I almost clicked myself out of this whole screen, which that would have been crazy. All right. Let's see what's going to come around to us. You know, we can sit here and start looking at quarterback, which I love. And there's more running backs that I like. There's a lot of fun things we can do here. So I'm going to just kind of look ahead. So one of the things that I like to do is if you know you've got these guys between you, right? Look at what they have. None of these teams have quarterbacks. So if I choose, let's say I want Kyler Murray and Jaylen Warren, right? Which I do. It's more likely Warren comes back than Murray because none of these guys have quarterbacks and he could be a guy that gets picked. Whereas, not to mention, I think Beaver has Trey McBride, so he probably wanted him, right? Warren could come back, and if we don't get him, ETN could come back, and we still feel like we're getting what we need. So sometimes looking ahead really is an advantage you really need to, you know, take into consideration when you're trying to plan out your best draft strategy here. And here comes that run on quarterbacks I talked about. And these guys already having 3 running backs, they're very less likely to take more running backs here, especially, and these are badge drafters like I am, so they have a pretty good understanding of team construction usually. And he's probably going to go wide receiver here because you just can't fall behind at wide receiver. You just can't do it. It's just too hard to find strength when you've got to start 3 wide receivers. ETN goes. Now we're going to hope Hunt passes on Warren, and that will make me very happy. It'll feel like this is the perfect draft if that's what happens. And I'm all about drafting perfect, right? You're supposed to draft like you're right. That's what they say. Oh, he took Warren. That's fantastic. All right, so we will pivot then. And we will go ahead and take Brandon Ayuk here as our 6th wide receiver. With Ayuk, you know, he was a number. He theoretically is San Francisco's wide receiver 1. And the reason he's going farther down is because he was injured. But their schedule, if you look at strength of schedule, San Francisco has the 2nd easiest schedule. And if he gets healthy, and he could absolutely be a league winner for you with where he's going in drafts. I mean, we just got him in round 9 as our 6th wide receiver. We only have to start 3 to 4. So we could use him in the fantasy football playoffs. He could turn out really well. Caleb Williams goes at 104. If you guys are just joining, I appreciate it. Just throw a like if you're enjoying anything, if you learn anything, if you just are happy to be, you know, awake and alive and enjoying some fantasy football. If you subscribe or hit the notification bell, you will get notified. I do go live usually between 10 p.m. and midnight, pretty much any day of the week that I can. If I can do it every day of the week, I will. And we're drafting underdog teams right here on Underdog Fantasy. And these are best ball teams, which means no time commitment during the regular season. You draft a team, and then the best players play. No management whatsoever. And I keep saying it because I feel like people don't understand, or maybe they've been doing redraft leagues for a while, but they've never really done best ball. And I've been doing best ball for 4 years now, and it's been fantastic. I've won over $10,000 every year doing this, and I just have a great time. I love drafting, love fantasy football, and drafting 1 to 3 teams a year is fine, but this is a whole new way to do it, and it is a very popular way to do it, so I highly recommend it. All right, Drake Magos is coming back to us here. I'm interested in a couple of the running backs here. We do need to get a third one, and we're going to get the opportunity to have just that. I was kind of looking ahead at, we still have opportunity at quarterbacks later that we like. We'll take Charbonnet here as our third running back. And then we'll see what comes back around. I'm not opposed to like a Ramondre. We don't need Herbert. We don't need Love because we don't have a Green Bay or a Charger on our team. So we want the correlation. We could do McCarthy if we wanted to pair him with Addison, as that could be an option. We don't want to scroll down too far and get ahead of ourselves here. And, of course, we could take one of these fabulous tight ends that are sitting here on the board. Choices. Judkins goes. You know what? Let's just go ahead and get our first tight end. Kraft, it's interesting. I think Green Bay could throw more this year. I think you'll see that. I think they had to run a lot more with the injury to Jordan Love last year, and Jordan Love was a lot less mobile. So to give him a little bit of relief from pressure, he wasn't running quite as much with that bad wheel. So I think he's going to want to throw a little bit more this year and being healthier again. If you look back at 2023, I mean, he put up 330 fantasy points, 32 touchdowns. He had 4,100 yards passing. Last year was only 3,400 almost. So I definitely think that he could easily be over 30 touchdowns. Could be over 35 if with the addition of Matthew Golden, revamped wide receiver room. I would expect him to be over 4,000 yards again. He could just be a really good value where he's going in drafts. And I'd like to be, if Tucker Kraft's his guy, I want to be on that side of things so far. So far, we have Kyler Murray at quarterback, and he's stacked up with Marvin Harrison. We have Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Zach Charbonnet, at running back. At wide receiver, we have Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison, DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, and Brandon Ayuk. And then at tight end, we have Tucker Kraft. Let me pull this down so you can kind of see where we're at. It does feel like with training camp being so early this year that we've seen more injuries than early in training camp that have been notable. All right, let's see what comes back to us here. It's ironic. We've still got McCarthy, Love available. I'm big on Trey Benson. Y'all know that. And he actually would pair with Kyler Murray. And we could use another running back. So I'm actually going to do that. I've already kind of talked about Benson a little bit already. With his snap share, he can only go up. And when you see the history of snap share from his counterpart, James Conner, I fully expect him to still be involved, but he was one of his lowest snap percentages last year. He was 61% snap share. And so if he's only on the field 61% of the time, then there's definitely more room for others to eat other than him. Kind of like getting Tua here to pair up Tyreek Hill with Tua as our second quarterback is probably where I'm going to go. But y'all know I do like – these are some other options that I do like on the board. We're going to go ahead and do that, get our second quarterback. So we have Kyler and Tua now at quarterback. Pretty balanced team, all told. We'll see kind of how tight end position plays out for us and the running back position. When we have Kyler Murray where we get him, and now we have Tua, and we have their, that's our top two receivers stacked up. You don't have to go to a third quarterback by any means. I think you've got enough. It's just a matter of, what falls to you, I think, if there's some value there. With Tua, I think you can see if his offense, he stays healthy and avoids the concussions, and his offense, really comes back to where they used to be, 2 years ago. You can see a lot happen for him. See if I can pull him up, and I will kind of discuss a little bit about Tua. I mean, his concussions have been the concern, but his offense could be explosive, and you want to when we can pair him up and stack him, you want a part of that. I mean, last year he was a top 10 quarterback 5 weeks out of the season. And he only played 11 games. So he was still ranked 21st quarterback, only playing 11 games. The year prior, in 2023, he was the quarterback 11 in PPR scoring. Douglas goes. Oh, let's see here. Kind of like Jalen Wright here. I like him whether he's stacked or not. It's just a bonus that you can stack him. A lot of people say you can't stack pass catcher. I mean, you can't stack a quarterback with running backs. Yes, you can. It's been proven. The data has shown that you can. And I'm not saying you should go out of your way to do it by any means, but if it works out that way and that's a guy you like and it just happens to correlate, then it's just an advantage that falls in your lap. And you should take advantage of it when it happens. Can you imagine? I almost want to take Nick Chubb here with Joe Mixon. Actually, Chubb goes to Beaver here. That would have been kind of fun. I'm not going to lie. Stafford does nothing for us. I don't like Jaden Blue. We're going to start to scroll down a little bit here. We could, you know what? That might be the play. That might be the play, and it is. We're going to double stack our Arizona with Michael Wilson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's our 7th wide receiver. We've now double stacked. I guess you can say triple with Kyler. So if we went into this trying to say that, hey, Arizona's offense is going to be much better, Kyler's really going to tear it up this year, and Trey Benson's coming out of nowhere, and he's going to unseat James Conner, or at least have more activity. They're going to throw the ball a bunch. We're saying they're an elite offense. We've got a lot of pieces of it. That's kind of how we're playing this one out. All right, so we have 3 picks left to go. We'll probably get 2 tight ends here, and then we'll decide if we want to we'll see what do we want to do with the wild card here. Oops. Can I really take friggin' Darren Waller? I'm trying to look at the news on him. This is going to be interesting. We're sitting here on a team with Tua. Kind of makes sense where he might end up being a good pick. Arroyo goes. I like Arroyo now that they've traded. If you didn't hear, Arroyo, the rookie, is looking like the right pick here late, and a great pick for Seattle because they traded away or let Noah Fant go. So no Noah Fant means Arroyo has an opportunity to really be a great decision. I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up picking Darren Waller here. I don't want to get away from not. I don't know. I just feel good about correlating my pass catching, and how crazy would it be that some guy who wasn't even in the league unretires, wins us a fantasy football championship? Kind of would feel pretty nasty, wouldn't it? I think that's probably the reason we need to do this. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I like it, because I'd rather pick Chig, if I'm being honest. I think he's a better player. But let's have some fun, shall we? What if he's the guy you need? So now we kind of need to decide, do we want a running back, a wide receiver? I mean, we're not taking Anthony Richardson. We don't have any of these guys to correlate. So we're not taking any of these other quarterbacks. So we're just going to click that off. So do we think our wide receiver room is strong enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, we have somebody who might miss some time in Ayuk. If Saquon Barkley is the guy, then we only need, Joe Mixon's going to miss some time. We know that for sure. Then these three would have to pick up the running back 2 room, so to speak. Tough decision. I think I'm going to believe in the talent of the wide receiver room, and I'm going to say that I need more work in the running back room, even though normally I'd rather side wide receiver. We could take some shots on some guys that maybe have a chance to be relevant. No, we don't want to do that. I'm just kind of queuing up guys that I have interest in. That down here, where I'm taking some guys and taking some chances, these are just kind of those guys that I'm clicking more often than not. Doesn't feel great, but I'm going to go with the receiver, actually. My normal thing here is when you're trying to decide who to go with your 18th pick, do you go wide receiver? Do you go running back? Because you need to start 3 and up to 4 wide receivers, and you only need to start 2 running backs, and we have Saquon, who we're planning to be our anchor. You have to draft like you're right. So we have to assume that when we draft him in the first round that he's the guy, right? So that means we need, throughout the rest of the season, these 4 guys to be the running back 2 every week, theoretically, right? To pull enough points between them. And then these guys can smash and win us some weeks as it is. And we're stumbling into some touchdowns here. And then, got some correlated teams. So just running this team back. Kyler Murray, Tua quarterback, Saquon, Joe Mixon, Zach Charbonnet, Trey Benson, Jalen Wright at running back, wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison, DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Wilson, Troy Franklin at wide receiver, and then Tucker Kraft, K. Dotton, and Darren Waller at tight end. We did correlate. We have a triple stack, I guess, if you will, with Darren Waller, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Wright stacked up with Tua. And then with Kyler, we have Trey Benson, Marvin Harrison, and Michael Wilson stacked up. So this was the Chow Chow. This is our second one tonight. That's going to be it for us tonight, I think. I appreciate everybody jumping on. If you do me a favor, just throw me a like if you enjoyed this at all. Just if this just helped you pass the time. We do draft every night between 10 p.m. and midnight if we can, Central Time. If you click in the link below in the description, you can join. We're drafting an Underdog Fantasy, and we'd love for you to draft live with us and chat along the way. If you have any questions about your redraft league, your dynasty league, best ball drafting, what is best ball? Happy to offer any suggestions that I have, and just appreciate you guys coming on and have a good time. So with that being said, hope you all have a good evening, and we will see you guys soon, probably tomorrow. Have a good night.